phone calls will drop. But the other thing is that sometimes they'll still get a lot of phone calls, but the time on the phone is way shorter. So a 20-minute phone call might only take 2 minutes because they have some context as to what's happening.
Welcome to the Tip the Scales podcast, where we discuss running and growing your law firm. I'm your host, Maria Monroy, president and co-founder of LawRank. Today, I am joined by Manny Griffiths, who is the co-founder and CEO of Hona. And I love this idea. I had been hearing a lot of buzz around Hona. It keeps clients updated on the status of their case. And as you guys know, the number one complaint from clients about their lawyers is that they can't get a hold of them. Also, Manny was kind enough to give our listeners a discount code. Manny, thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
Why don't you tell us your name and your title and where you work?
Sure. I'm Manny Griffiths. I am co-founder and CEO of Hona, which is a legal tech communication platform.
I've been hearing a lot about Hona lately. That's why I wanted to have you on. Really quickly, tell us, what does Hona do?
I like to describe it as the Domino's pizza tracker of legal cases. If you know what that is, and I hope you use Domino's every once in a while.
No, absolutely not.
Well, that's okay. You've probably seen it on their trucks because they advertise it. But
I haven't, but I can imagine what it is. It's like you're waiting, it's kind of like the Amazon. You can also track when the package is getting there. My kid's obsessed and refresh it, and I'm like,
DoorDash.
Yep.
Amazon.
Yep.
Exactly. Same type of thing. But it's doing that with their case. So they can learn what stage is it in? The thing is
the clients.
The clients.
Okay.
Exactly. And clients love it because they want to know what's happening because they're so used to Amazon.
Right.
And Domino's and whatever. But law firms love it because it kind of removes the burden of always needing to communicate with clients.
Is it an app that the client has to download?
Yeah. So we don't do an app. People kind of hate apps these days.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Right. People don't have storage on phones and it's they delete it right after. So it's not an app. It texts them. They click a link and it goes right in to a web page that looks and feels just like an app.
What does the law firm have to do to keep, does it integrate with their case management software?
It's a great question. So we were super cognizant that so many law firms have to staff and attorneys, they're switching browser tabs all day to do their different software. So we directly integrate with their case management software so that it pushes when they update a task or they move the case from stage 2 to stage 3 so that the law firm doesn't actually have to do anything. Okay. It just updates for them. And then it leaves a note in their case management software that says, hey, we texted your client an update here.
So when they do something in their case management software, it automatically updates the client via text?
Exactly.
And which case management softwares do you integrate with?
We have 15 integrations, so it's all the big ones.
Can you name them?
Yeah. Filevine, Clio, MyCase, Smart Advocate, Litify, Lawbase. We do Zapier, DocketWise. So there's a few. Okay.
What don't you integrate with that? Is there any well-known case management softwares that you don't integrate with?
Some of them, it's harder to integrate with the server-based case management software. So Needles and TrialWorks.
That makes sense.
We don't, but Neos we do.
Right. Makes sense.
Really anything that's in the cloud we're going to integrate with. But if it's on-prem on a server, probably not.
This is going to shock you, but some law firms don't use case management software. What happens if they don't have a case management software?
Yeah, it's crazy that some don't, but
I know.
Whatever works for you. We actually have a standalone tool.
You do?
Yeah, so they could just instead of it automatically doing it, they just click a button, sends an update.
It sounds like it's minimal work on the clients. If let's assume that they have, Filevine or Smart Advocate or Litify. It sounds like, what about CasePeer?
Uh-huh.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We love
that. Let's say that there is integration. It sounds like it's just once it's integrated, it's minimal work for the client. Am I grasping this correctly?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's cool. Something that's cool that we do is we have, when you're in your case management software, like working on a case, we have a Google Chrome extension. So like you can actually like see Hona on the side. So like you're in a case, you're in Manny's car accident. Hona's right there on the side as like a little sidekick.
Okay.
And there's all this stuff you can do with it. Like you could request a Google review just by clicking.
That was my next question. Okay, cool. I love that. We are like huge fans of like get reviews because we need them for what we do.
Totally.
So that was literally my next question. I'm like, is there a way? Because now they're already used to this like form of communication, right? So it's like, and the biggest complaint, as I'm sure you know, and it's probably why you started Hona, is like the clients say, my lawyer doesn't get back to me, and it also a huge issue. And I have another question. Do you only work with single event, or are you working with like mass torts, family law, criminal defense? How does that work?
Yeah, no, we work with all practice areas. And mass tort's huge for what we do because
then you don't want them to then go sign up with another law firm because they think like, oh, well, I haven't heard back, right?
Exactly. Well, like some of the stages in mass tort cases are like years.
Yeah.
And so what we have is like, we call them drip notifications. Mm-hmm. So you could set that up to text the client every week if you wanted to. So like they know who their law firm is.
Yeah.
And they know that like something's being worked on, but it's just not to the point where a real update's happening yet.
That makes sense. And then I guess what everyone's probably wondering as they're listening is, how much does it cost?
Yeah, it depends. We do it by number of cases.
Okay.
Because that's what our costs are, is like how many texts are we sending? How much data is in our database?
So let's say that a firm has 500 active cases.
Yeah. It's a few $1,000 a year. It's not crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
But by a few thousand, do you mean 2? Do you mean 4?
It's
do you mean 7?
For 500 active cases, it's probably between 5 and 10.
5 and 10 grand.
Yeah.
A year. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's not super expensive.
So you're looking at about $10 to $20 a case
per year. Yep.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and to have
a happy client, which means more reviews, less phone calls. Your team is not as like bombarded. What are like the downsides or the complaints that you've gotten?
Downsides or complaints? One, I was going to make a comment on more reviews because this is your thing.
Yes.
We had a firm turn it on for reviews and get 51 new Google reviews in 1 month.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
But yeah, everyone's way happier. Complaints that we get like from using our tool.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. A lot of firms are scared that if you send an update, it's actually going to cause more phone calls.
Okay.
Because they're going to be like, what is this?
Right.
And I think it could do that if you don't set it up right.
Okay.
So like you want to give context, you want to explain, you want to put in videos. And this is probably something that you do a lot with too, is like video marketing. And
we don't.
You don't do that at all.
Well, we don't record or edit. Like we encourage it, and we can definitely put it on the website and like upload it to YouTube and stuff like that. But I guess that was my next question. Like how much at the beginning, how customizable is it? And like how long is the implementation?
So implementation is just a couple of weeks because we have templates. So like if you do personal injury, we've got a template that will give you, and it's probably like 80% of what you want, right? It's like, here's the 7 most common stages, and then you'll go and you'll edit it, but it's extremely customizable. So like you're putting in your logo and your branding and your own video content, and like you'll put profiles for your attorneys. So like you can put, this is Saul Goodman and here's a link to my Instagram and whatever it is. So like it definitely looks like it's coming from the law firm and not from a third party. So
does the firm kind of prep them like, hey, you're going to be getting these text messages, like we're going to keep you updated throughout, the lifetime of your case? And then my second question is it creating more phone calls?
No, if you set it up right, it dramatically reduces them.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it could. I think the best firms, when you do your initial meeting, like with the client, you would tell them, hey, we use an updating tool. It's going to text you from this number. Make sure you click on those links and learn about what we're doing. So like, if you're really savvy with using Hona, you would do that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a tool, and like tools depend on how you use them. Like if you customize it and you put in video content and you tell your clients, it works really well. I could see if you didn't set it up right, there could be some.
But how much help do you guys provide in setting it up?
That's like my biggest thing running the company is like I want the white glove service for these law firms because they don't have time. So we kind of hold their hand. We talk to them every step of the way for implementation.
And is there a setup fee?
Yeah, there is.
And how much is it?
It depends. People love that question.
Lawyers the lawyer answer. That's just like
yeah. But it's for the situation that you said, 500 cases. It's probably like $1,000.
Okay.
500, 2,000.
No, that's not bad.
No,
not at all.
Yeah, for what we do too, like we lose money on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Yeah, I feel you. How did you come up with the idea? Like, let's do this. Did you work at a law firm?
Yeah. So I didn't work at a law firm, but I did work for a legal tech company.
Okay.
So I worked for FileVine for several years.
Okay.
And my clients were asking for this.
Oh,
so I was like, I'm gonna go build this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There was also another part of that was my wife was in a car accident. Well, we were engaged at the time. And so we actually went through it and we saw like, wow, there was like months where we didn't hear from the firm. We didn't know what was happening. So that also contributed a lot to it.
Sounds like you guys are doing great. You're growing. What's next? What else can you do with the platform, or what's like in the future of Hona?
A lot of AI components. So like, of course, but like something that we're doing is before a law firm reaches out to you, we actually have like an AI assistant in Hona that can answer questions about the case, which is cool. So that is even going to reduce phone calls even more so.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. The other thing too is like we want to be like all forms of communication that happen between a law firm and a client will go through Hona. So like e-signatures, like forms, we actually already do this, but like forms and questionnaires go into Hona. So like if you can think about it, like everything should happen through Hona.
And then it pushes it to the case management software.
Exactly.
Now what about what happens if like a client has Hona, Lead Docket, and FileVine? Is there any like issues with that, or they all communicate with one another? How does it work?
Yeah, they all communicate. Like and that's kind of our secret sauce. Like there are tools that are kind of similar to Hona, but like our integrations are so good that like it just makes it so seamless.
The law firm's clients are getting a text from Hona, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they call that phone number?
Yeah, it goes straight to the firm.
Okay, cool.
You can actually use the firm's like billboard number as the number that is texting them.
Okay.
Which is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I love that.
They can have one number for everything.
Okay, that's very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what is the feedback that you're getting from the law firms that have been using Hona for a while? Like, what do they say to you?
Yeah, it's interesting because we just raised some funding and we got an investment from a venture capital firm out of the Bay Area. And so they like back channeled and talked to our clients and they sent us what they said.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of the things that we hear, and like this sounds like I'm tooting our own horn, but like just like that the service was incredible. Like we really helped them implement. We're like more consultants than anything because people don't know how often should I text them? How often should I update them?
Right.
What type of content should I put in? So like we're really good at like telling you what to do for that. So that's one thing we really hear. Another thing we hear is like, okay, so phone calls will drop. But the other thing is that sometimes they'll still get a lot of phone calls, but the time on the phone is way shorter. So a 20-minute phone call might only take 2 minutes because they have some context as to what's happening. So like they've watched the video in Hona 3 or 4 times. So they're like, hey, what is the insurance adjuster doing on this or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So phone calls reduce, but also phone calls shorten as well.
Give me an example of an update that they would get and how would the client see that? So there's a text, there's a link, they click on the link, it goes to Hona, and in there's a templatized like explanation of what's going on along with a video. Is it like pulling data specific to their case into the template that is being sent out?
A lot of times, yes.
Okay.
So like some examples of things that would go out is like, hey, we have just received all of your medical records and bills. We'll be in touch soon about the next stage of the case.
And does that trigger a phone call?
Well, if you phrase it right, it shouldn't, right?
Okay.
Like, hey, we'll call you
Right.
the next step. Should
Got
be
it.
in the next few days.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
a good question.
Okay.
So that's an example. Another thing is like appointment reminders, right? So if you have a deposition, a lot of firms they'll put it in Hona and they'll set up automated texts to remind them about their deposition. So
I mean, I would hope nobody ever forgets to show up to their
Right.
deposition, but I could see it happening.
yeah, well, it's nice to, for your dentist, it's like texts you five days before. And
Yes.
it's like, here's the location.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing. But for depositions, a lot of our firms will put like a prep video on
Yeah, like
YouTube.
dress code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dress code. Here's what you should say. And you should talk to your clients about that anyway.
Yeah.
But like, it's nice to have like text so that they're
Yeah.
really feeling prepared for that, because obviously super important.
Well, I love this. This sounds like an amazing product, and I don't get anything for saying that. And you guys know that I'm very picky about which vendors I bring on. So, and Manny was grateful enough to give you guys a discount, and the discount code will be LawRank. And tell us about the discount.
We're doing 15% off recurring fees. So that's like the subscription. And then we'll also do 20% off of the one-time, so like the setup fee.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for everything that Manny shared with us today. If you found this story valuable, please share it with someone you want to see succeed. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to help others discover the show.